Yeah, I need to react to this transcript of the conversation between Tyler Robinson, the shooter of Charlie Kirk, and his trans roommate. He is asked by his trans roommate, why did he do it? He says, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out, right? And the point I want to make is that this is on society, because society has trained us, has tried to hypnotically suggest us into the idea that anybody who has right-wing takes, right, is just consumed by hate, right? Just filled with hate, right? There can't be, it can't be acknowledged that there could be a rational reason for having opinions like Charlie Kirk had concerning race and crime, right? If you say those sorts of things, it can't be rational. It's not allowed to be. It just has to be a consumption by hate, right? So if you criticize the trans community, consumed by hate. If you criticize feminism, hate. If you're not really sure that importing the third world en masse into Britain is a good thing, hate. It's just consumption by hate, right? So if we are training society to think in such a primitive, stupid way, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Right? What's the appropriate way to respond to these people who are being represented as more or less demonic, right? Just consumed by hate. They're just balls of, fiery hate. What is the appropriate way to respond to those guys? What is the right way to to respond to somebody who is just sort of a rabid hater, right? Society has trained kids from cradle, people, because Tyler was 22 years old, right? He's been trained from the cradle to respond that way. It's in his unconscious, right? It's not accessible to rational criticism because he's been trained from infancy to just make that automatic assumption. Somebody says, has a take on, race and crime, race and IQ consumed by hate, right? It's an automatic equation. I know that he didn't get that from his family background, but he got it from his peer circle. He got it from his teachers, right? He got it from institutions. He didn't get it from fringe places. He got it from mainstream institutions, right? So, yeah, Tommy Robinson's march on Saturday was a hate march, right? I've seen that. And we're familiar with this, right? It's just hate, right? And of course, it's even in law, it's hate speech, right? There's hate speech legislation, for Christ's sake, right? So, I mean, this delusional primitive equation, critical of race and crime, critical of trans movement, critical of feminism equals hate. That stupid equation is enshrined in fucking law, for Christ's sake. It's so normalized. So of course you're training people to think that equation is sacrosanct. And what did you think was going to fucking happen? Right? What's the appropriate way to respond to just, knotted balls of hate? Right? So yeah, remember the other side of the equation is Mangione. Mangione was treated like a folk hero on the left, right? He was celebrated, right? And there was not enough pushback from mainstream society, from you lot. You should have been outraged, furious. You should have been absolutely enraged with the left for thinking they could get away with treating Luigi Mangione as a folk hero. You weren't. There was nothing like enough of a pushback from mainstream society against the folk heroization of Luigi. People were pretty indifferent, right? And so what's Tyler thinking? How old was he then? 20? Wow. The left, the kind of circles that I think are cool, think Luigi's a folk hero for that act. Hey, how do you think Tyler's thinking about himself now? He's thinking he's another Luigi, right? So yeah, I think it's really instructive also to compare the difference in emotional reaction from us to the shooting of Charlie Kirk and the shooting of Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO, who was shot by Mangione. The clear point is that we care a hell of a lot more about Charlie Kirk than we did about Brian Thompson. And that's really not very fair or rational, is it? And the reason we care more about Charlie Kirk than we care about Brian Thompson is that, well, Brian Thompson is, what is he to us? He's a faceless, nameless CEO. I had to work a bit to remember his name, right? His name didn't come to me spontaneously. I had to think to remember his name. All I knew is he's some faceless, nameless CEO, and who cares about them, right? Whereas Charlie Kirk has a face. We have a parasocial relationship with Charlie Kirk, right? That is to say, he's somebody that we discuss as we're discussing now, right? Or we discuss in face-to-face circles. Charlie Kirk's a guy that we know, right? That's who he is to us emotionally. That's not who he is to us really, but it is who he is to us emotionally. We know the sorts of emotional reactions to the deaths of, famous people. Princess Diana is a famous case, right? Massive outpouring of grief over somebody we never knew. We have a parasocial relationship with Charlie Kirk. Whether we love him or hate him or are fairly indifferent to him, he's a household name. He's somebody we talk about, just like we talk about John at number 35, right? So we feel we have like an emotional connection. We're sort of trained, we train ourselves into talking about Charlie Kirk the way we talk about a real person. He has a face, he has a name, and so on, right? We watched his cartoon portrayal on South Park, right? So yeah, I think that's why we reacted so much more powerfully against the killing of Charlie Kirk than we did against the killing of Brian Thompson. But Brian Thompson was a real human being. He was a man with a family. He was everything that Charlie Kirk was. He was a decent human being, I have no doubt, even though he was a CEO, even though he was successful, right? But to the left, the killing of Brian Thompson was every bit as totally cool as the killing of Charlie Kirk, right? So, yeah, that's an interesting comparison at any rate. We're not very rational, are we? And yeah, the shooting of... I really want to say that it's radicals who get blamed for the shooting of Luigi Mangione. It's radicals who get blamed for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. But it's the mainstream who's to blame. Who makes the radicals? The mainstream makes the radicals. And you can see how the mainstream, the way it responds is teaching the radicals, right? The way the mainstream responded to the shooting of Brian Thompson by Luigi Mangione taught something to radicals, right? Nobody cared about Brian Thompson, and nobody really cared when Luigi Mangione was treated as a folk hero by the radical left. It was kind of fine. The mainstream shrugged, right? The mainstream is responsible for creating radicals in many, many different ways, but certainly in that way. The mainstream is responsible for creating radicals because of the way it reacts to radical acts, right? Because of this mainstreaming of the primitive, stupid idea that anybody who has takes on race and crime, race and IQ, the trans movement, feminism, and so on, is just, a ball of hate. I mean, that is ultimately, it's dehumanizing, isn't it? What do you do with a person who is just reduced to a ball of hate?